Hello! We're excited to show you our native speech capabilities.
Where you can direct a voice, create realistic dialogue, and so much more. Edit these placeholders to get started.
Quick question before we start. Which sentence is correct? I'm taller than my brother? Or I'm taller than my brother?
And don't answer too quickly because this tiny difference between then and than is one of the most common spelling mistakes in English.
Yes, and sometimes even people who speak English fluently still mix them up when they're typing quickly.
So today we're going to make this difference so clear that you'll never hesitate again.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel.
Welcome to Easy Speak Lab English, where we help you speak English more naturally, more confidently, and with fewer confusing mistakes.
By the way, if you're new here, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Sophie.
And today we're talking about two words that look almost identical but have completely different meanings. Then and than.
Yes, and even though the spelling difference is just one letter, the function of each word in a sentence is completely different. Let's start with the core rule in a very simple way. Than is used for comparisons. Then is related to time or sequence.
That's already a very important distinction because it means they are not interchangeable at all.
Exactly, they belong to completely different categories in English.
Let's begin with than. When we compare two things, we use than. For example, I am taller than my brother. She is more confident than she was last year. This movie is better than the one we watched yesterday.
Notice that in every example, we are comparing two things, two people, two moments, or two movies.
And if you say, I am taller than my brother, it's simply wrong.
Yes, and even though it's just one letter, native speakers immediately notice it in writing.
Now let's talk about then. Then is about time, order, or what happens next. For example, first we had dinner, then we watched a movie. I was younger then, so I didn't understand the situation. If you finish your homework, then you can go out.
So then connects events in time or shows a consequence.
Yes, it answers questions like what happened next or what happened after that.
Let's imagine a simple day. You wake up early, you make coffee, and you check your emails. You would say, I woke up at 7, then I made some coffee, and then I checked my emails.
Yes, because those actions happened one after another in time. But if I want to compare coffee and tea, I would say, I prefer coffee more than tea.
Perfect. That's comparison, so we use than.
Let me make a common learner mistake on purpose. She is smarter than me.
No!
I know.
Correct version, she is smarter than me because you're comparing two people.
It's amazing how one small letter can change the correctness of a sentence.
Here's a simple memory trick. Than has the letter A, and A can remind you of comparison because you often compare A to B.
That's actually helpful.
And then has the letter E, which you can associate with event or next event.
That's clever, simple, but effective. Let's act out a small situation. You're talking about two job offers.
Okay.
You might say, this company pays more than the other one, but if I accept this offer, then I'll have to move to another city.
That's perfect because you used both words correctly in the same sentence.
And that's actually a great exercise, using both in one context to really see the difference clearly. Let's do a quick practice. Sentence 1. She is more patient, blank her sister.
Than.
Correct. Sentence 2. We finished our meeting, and blank, we went out for lunch.
Then.
Perfect. Sentence 3. If you study regularly, blank, you will improve faster.
Then.
Yes. Sentence 4. This exam was harder, blank, the previous one.
Than. In part 2, we're going to look at some tricky sentences where people accidentally use the wrong word, especially in writing.
And we'll also talk about why this mistake is so common.
So stay with us.
Sophie, before we go any further, I think we should pause for a second and talk about why this mistake happens so often, because it's not just a small spelling issue. There's actually something interesting happening in the brain when learners mix these two words up.
I completely agree because when students tell me they're confused, it's rarely about the rule itself. It's usually about pronunciation and speed. When native speakers talk quickly, than and then can sound almost identical, especially in casual conversation.
Exactly. And when your ear isn't fully trained to hear the subtle vowel difference, your brain just makes a quick decision and picks one randomly. And unfortunately, it often picks the wrong one.
Yes, and there's another reason too. In many languages, the same word structure handles both comparison and sequence differently than English does. So learners are not only learning new vocabulary, they're learning a new logic system.
That's such an important point. This isn't just about spelling correctly, it's about understanding whether your sentence is expressing comparison or time order.
Let's focus clearly on than first. Whenever you are comparing two things, people, ideas, emotions, situations, or even two versions of yourself, you need than.
Right, and comparison doesn't always look obvious. It's not just taller than or faster than. Sometimes it's more subtle. For example, I feel more confident than I did last year. You are comparing your current confidence with your past confidence.
Exactly. Or consider this sentence. This exam was more difficult than I expected. Here, you're comparing reality with expectation, not two physical objects.
Yes, and that's where many learners get confused, especially when time expressions appear in the sentence. They see last year or yesterday and think it must be about time sequence, but it's still comparison.
That's such a common trap. The presence of a time word doesn't automatically mean you need then. You have to ask yourself, am I comparing two things?
Let's talk about another very common structure, preference. For example, I would rather stay home than go out tonight. This is a comparison between two choices.
Yes, and learners sometimes write, I would rather stay home than go out, which completely changes the meaning. It sounds like first you stay home and after that you go out.
Which is technically possible, but probably not what you meant.
Exactly. Another example, she prefers coffee than tea. This one is actually incorrect structure. It should be she prefers coffee to tea. But if we use a comparative form, it becomes she likes coffee more than tea. And now than is correct because we're comparing.
Now let's shift our attention to then. This word is about order, progression, and logical consequence.
Yes, and I like to think of then as something that moves the story forward. One action happens and then another action follows.
For example, I finished my work and then I went for a walk. Clear timeline.
Or in conditionals, if you practice every day, then you will improve faster.
Yes, and sometimes then is used for emphasis in logic. If that's true, then we need to rethink our plan.
It shows consequence.
Let's create two sentences that feel similar but use different words correctly. Sentence 1. I was more prepared than I thought I would be.
Comparison between reality and expectation. Sentence 2. I thought about the decision carefully and then I finally said yes.
Sequence of mental steps. Now here's a longer example that combines both ideas. I was more prepared than last time, but then something unexpected happened.
That's such a great example because it shows how both words can appear in the same situation but serve completely different functions.
Let's imagine a real-life conversation. I was more excited than nervous before the presentation, but then my computer suddenly stopped working.
First part, comparison. Second part, sequence of events.
And notice how natural that sounds. When you understand the function, you don't even hesitate.
Yes, and that's the goal for our listeners. We want them to think about meaning first, not spelling first.
Okay, Sophie, let's challenge our listeners with slightly longer sentences. I'm more focused now, blank I was 2 years ago.
Than, clear comparison.
Finish your report, blank, send it to the manager.
Then, clear sequence.
She was more confident, blank her colleague.
Than, again, comparison.
Sophie, I think this is the perfect moment to talk about real-life mistakes because this is where learners really struggle. In grammar exercises, everything is clean and slow, but in real-life conversations, texting, emails, and especially social media, people write fast, and that's when then and than get mixed up constantly.
Oh, absolutely. I see this mistake almost every day online. Someone writes, she is better than me, and for a second, my brain tries to interpret it as a timeline instead of a comparison.
Exactly, and that tiny confusion shows why this matters. When you use then instead of than, you're not just making a spelling mistake, you're changing the logic of the sentence.
Right, instead of comparing two people, it suddenly sounds like one thing happens after another. And even though native speakers usually understand what you meant, it creates a small interruption in fluency.
Let's go a little deeper with comparison structures because not all comparisons are simple. For example, this project is more complicated than we originally thought.
Here, we're comparing reality with expectation again. Yes, and here's another one that students often get wrong. I'm more comfortable speaking English now than when I first started learning. It contains time, but the function is comparison between two stages of ability.
Exactly. The key question is always, are we comparing two things? Another example. He earns less than his older brother, but he seems happier.
We're comparing income levels.
And notice how natural that sounds. The structure more